Welcome to SVG-TV News for Monday, April 23rd, 2018. I am Rochelle Batiste with the details. Close to 9 million EC dollars are to be spent to establish a new arrowroot factory at Orange Hill within the next 2 years. This from North Windward Parliamentary Representative Montgomery Daniel, who has responsibility for arrowroot at the level of the cabinet, in an interview with SVG-TV News. The coming on stream of a new factory will dovetail with a new marketing thrust between the Arrowroot Industry Association and Windfresh, the regional marketing and processing company. The intention is to breathe new impetus to the struggling industry. Nikita Tony tells us more in this report.
Once a major export earner here in St. Vincent and the Grenadines, the arrowroot industry has over the years experienced a decline. But it is expected that with the recent signing of a memorandum of understanding with regional marketing company Windfresh, formerly Webdeco, that the arrowroot industry is set for a brighter future. In a recent visit to the arrowroot factory located at Oya, we caught up with area representative for North Windward, Montgomery Daniel, who explained that details are to be worked out on a recently signed MOU between the government, the Arrowroot Industry Association and Windfresh. Talks are also ongoing with respect to the construction of a new arrowroot factory, which is estimated to cost around $9 million.
We are already in discussions with an institution wherein that we see the funds becoming available for the new factory. Through the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, was able to make an initial contact with the Indian Foreign Ministry, where that $1 million is already identified.
Daniel says that with a new factory, the quality of the arrowroot starch produced would be further improved, which should give a boost to marketing efforts.
We want to modernize what we have, removing from the settling tanks and the vats to more modern drying, centrifugal drying and so on, to give you a much more HACCP compliant product. Let's take, for instance, your buyers now are taking 50-pound parcels, but you can also package for other markets, maybe 2-pound packages, 5-pound packages, 10-pound packages, and so on. So you'll be able to be in a better position to market the product you have, which can only benefit the industry and the farmers as a whole.
Manager of the Arrowroot Industry Association, Salman Walters, adds that the production of arrowroot is on the increase due to the attractive returns to farmers, with a market price of $1 per pound of rhizome. However, the existing factory is unable to process all the arrowroot being produced, even though it has been recently upgraded.
Every year, we do just over 1.5 million pounds of rhizome. That would yield us sometimes 600,000–700,000 pounds of starch. So far this year, we have already purchased and crushed over 700,000 pounds of rhizome, and we have already gotten over 200,000 pounds of starch. We have over 150 farmers right now who bring rhizome to the factory, and there is a request for more farmers who are seeking permission to plant more. We have not yet given that permission because the old factory cannot handle that volume of rhizome. The new factory proposed to come on stream in 2 years will be larger and more efficient, and then we can expand the acreage wider and bring in more farmers into the industry.
Walters explains that Windfresh will be able to tap into new markets for the starch.
Market in the United States has diminished because of the competition with cheap starch, and that United States market has been our main market so far. We held discussions with the buyers last 2 months when I went to New York with the chairman, Mr. Sutherland, and they are planning to review the purchase arrangement to see if they can accommodate us by buying more starch. Right now we are selling some starch in the United States, some starch on the local market, and some regionally. But the major buyers right now we are hoping is, as Minister explained, Windfresh, who want to take the commodity into UK. So we are still working on the marketing aspect of it, and when we get that going the way it should go, the future for the industry will be seen in all its glory.
Walters says he hopes to see more products coming on stream with the establishment of a new factory.
No, we are exporting our starch in its natural form. We have not done anything with it in the secondary level. So the team up with Winfresh would address all that. What can we do with the starch at a secondary level? We are hearing that we can take it into a powder. We can take it into a food product. So those are the things that are being explored to see how we can add value and bring more revenue into the industry.
With the coming into being of a new factory and the maximizing of secondary products, the arrowroot industry is set to be a major player in the diversification of the agricultural sector here in St. Vincent and the Grenadines. Reporting for SVG-TV News, I am Nikita Tony.
Thank you, Nikita. In other news, President of the SVG British Returnees Association, Curtis Shallow, is of the view that those of the Windrush era are being victimized. Shallow tells SVG-TV News that it is mainly the British Conservative Party that has been pushing the agenda of having migrants return to their country.
Most certainly, this is victimization. This is the treatment that the black people get after they do work so hard in the country, build the country, and now they want to conservative government been doing this for years. They want to send our people back to where they come from. At one time, I remember Enoch Cowell had asked the government to pay them £10,000, £10,000, and let them go back to their country. So it's nothing new, really. And I think it's mainly the conservative government. Mainly conservative government. This is what they had in mind for a long time. So there is nothing new.
Giving advice to those persons still living in Britain, Shallow says they should get their documents legally sorted out and eventually prepared for their return to their homeland.
Vincentians and Grenadians and Jamaicans, the West Indians in particular, they work very hard in the country and work and look after number one, make sure that they prepare for their home, because you have to make preparation when you go overseas. In my book is that once you get overseas in a different country, the first thing that you must do is make preparation that one day you have to come back to your home. And this is a preparation that I made when I travel.
Meanwhile, Minister of Foreign Affairs, Sir Louis Straker, says he believes that the British government will honor its word to those who have been wronged in the Windrush saga. Sir Louis, fresh from his trip to the Commonwealth meeting in the UK, tells SVG-TV News that he was satisfied with the assurances given by the British Prime Minister Theresa May in a meeting held with him and other Caribbean leaders.
Those who came to England on their parents' birth documents, travel documents, and those who came even with their own documents as little children, these documents could not be found, or they did not proceed into getting British citizenship, but they had lived in England all their lives. But we accepted in good faith the apology, because the apology came from the Home Secretary, Amber Rudd. It came from the Prime Minister, and it came from the Minister in Immigration. So we accepted in good faith, and they were willing, they said they were willing to offer compensation to those who have suffered in one way or the other, those who have had out-of-pocket expenses for medical care that they were entitled to, or those who lost their jobs because of this matter, or those who were in detention centers, or even those who were sent back home. They are willing to rectify the situation so that they can come back to England.
Sir Louis points out that there were 4 cases involving Vincentians pertaining to the Windrush matter that had to be resolved.
I asked our High Commissioner whether he had any case in the United Kingdom that that had come to his attention that fall under this situation. He said maybe about 4, but he handled those cases in the United Kingdom with the Home Office. 3 out of the 4 probably had to do with people who came subsequent to 1973, because if you had gone there by 1980, it means that you were living there for 37 years. And so that matter had to be addressed for those people who had gone subsequent to 1973. And the British Prime Minister said that they will look at each case by case, and depending on the situation, they would do what is right by these people.
The Foreign Affairs Minister expressed concern that there may be persons who are deported who feel uncomfortable to divulge their situation.
That people who are deported for lack of proper documents, sometimes a stigma is attached to you once you're a deportee, and you do not come forward to say, well, I was deported, because people immediately assume that you might have committed a criminal offense. So there might be people who are deported, are now in St. Vincent, but never came forward to say, well, they were deported because of lack of documentation. So it's something that I have to follow up here with the Returnees Association to see if they know of any situation. And the British government has asked us, through our High Commissioner in England, to forward such names and follow up in that situation where they would pay their passage to come back to England and write this matter for the benefit of all of us.
President of the St. Vincent and the Grenadines Teachers Union, Wendy Bino, is encouraging her members to rally around the union's leadership as it strived to execute its mandate. She made the appeal at a training workshop last Friday that was organized to help strengthen the leadership skills of members. Bino said all leaders face challenges from time to time and that support from members is crucial to the success of the union.
Brothers and sisters, the days ahead will continue to demand the best from all of us as leaders of the union, whether at the school or branch level, whether we are committee chair or member, executive officer or staff member. All of us must possess and display one critical characteristic, that of loyalty. Loyalty to a cause that is bigger and more important than all of our individual views and ideas. In the end, what really matters is that we stand as one united force. Oh, yeah. Our victory can only come when we band together through the difficult times, because we believe that in the end, we shall overcome as hand in hand, united we stand.
Bino also called on the newly elected executive to use the rich history of the union to inspire their work.
I would like to advise all of our leaders to be focused in all undertakings. The challenges we face as a union or as a nation cannot be wished away. We will have to double our resolve to stay the course irrespective of the difficulties and the temptation to give in. Each time we feel like giving up, we must look back at our rich history and the sacrifices of our trailblazers. The path of the teacher is not always one of ease and contentment. I implore all of us to rally around our leaders and give the critical support that is necessary to see the task through.
In commemoration of International Girls in ICT Day, which is celebrated on the 4th Thursday in April, and this year falls on the 26th. This country will be hosting a one-week workshop for women and girls. The event, which is being hosted by the Information Technology Services Division, the ITSD, and the Gender Affairs Division, was launched this morning and will run until Friday, April 27th. The director of the ITSD, Jacinta Fergus, says the workshop is also in commemoration of the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. She highlighted areas that will be addressed by facilitators.
To introduce girls and young women to ICT career opportunities, involving them in hands-on ICT creation workshop, and directly contribute to the achievement of the United Nations Sustainable Development Goal targets 4.4, 5B, 5.B, and 8.6. Target 5 in particular speaks to gender equality and empowering all women and girls through information communication technology. We hope that this training workshop would stimulate your interest in ICTs and set you on a path to a career in ICT.
Deputy Director of the ITSD, Desiree Armstrong, advised participants never to take their training for granted, as there are many around the world who lose their lives because they are pursuing an education.
There's a great disparity, and hence the International Telecommunications Organization saw it fit to initiate this activity. We just have to listen to the news and we will know what's going on. We hear about the kidnappings of the young ladies in Nigeria by Boko Haram. They don't think that they should be educated. We hear of the horror stories in India. They don't think the females should have access to education. And the list can go on and on. So sometimes persons will ask, why do we celebrate this day? It is for that reason that we do it. We want to have a gender balance in ICT.
Coordinator of the Gender Affairs Division, Laflo Kwame, commending the ITCD for its work and called on others to support such initiatives.
Other entities, be it state and non-state agencies, to join with us. And as I said before, we cannot do it alone. To the participants, I hope that you would actively participate in this program and you can be able to leave with new knowledge that you can be able to use within and be gainfully employed, and also to assist your children, whether it be in your school, in their schoolwork, or in their school-based assessment or assignments. And to the ITSD, I wish your department a successful and productive training workshop for this week.
With an increase of pushcart operators in capital Kingston, the police would like to have measures in place to bring order to their line of work. Bavin Oliver tells us more in this report.
Operators provide useful services to the public, transporting goods to and from various locations around Kingston. They have come under criticism from members of the public who consider them a hindrance to the free flow of traffic in the city. The police have also been weighing in on the issue. Inspector Henry Providence of the traffic branch says they too have been receiving numerous complaints about the cart operators.
We have seen where they are creating damage to other person's vehicles, they are creating damage to themselves, they are creating damage to and injuries also to other pedestrians and the whole. So we want to ask them to refrain from using their carts outside the flow of traffic. So if the traffic is flowing in that direction, it is best for them to travel in that direction as well. What we are seeing also happening is that even if they are traveling in the same direction as traffic flows, a number of them are traveling directly in the lane. So the vehicle that is traveling behind of them has to wait, and it also creates a problem in regards to the obstruction and the flow of traffic. So again, we want to advise them to do so in a more professional way, in a better way than they have been doing in the past.
Inspector Providence says the traffic branch cannot charge an operator who is involved in an accident due to legislative limitations.
Because there's no provision in the Traffic Act for prosecuting a cart operator or a vehicle, because the cart is not a motor vehicle. So If a car is involved in an accident, we usually advise the other motorist to take a certain course of action where he might take civil action against the car operator. So we do not want to reach a stage where we are going to advise the motorist to take these actions. So that's why we're really appealing to the car operators as well to operate within the confines of the law.
The veteran cop says if laws are put in place to regulate their activities, it should help to bring about order.
A catman will take his cat and left it in the middle of the lane, and he gone where he wants to. If it is carrying an identification number, then we will be able to identify who this cat belongs to. And when persons understand that they have to pay some penalty if they are in breach of something, I think the general public on a whole will have a better appreciation for these catmen. But what we are seeing that they are using the road, using the street, and they're not being asked to pay a fine for the upkeeping of the road or anything like that. They just go about and do as they please. And we would really like to see some legislation passed.
Cart operators themselves agree that it will be in their interest to have regulations put in place.
Some body damage, there will be credibility that it could be compensated. You compensating somebody. So it is not a bad idea really, meaning that more people would be careful and you would have less people want to go through that procedures, so you will get authorized catman on the road.
Yeah, this will help you a lot because I don't know if you get in trouble, you will have to pay. So this will help you. If you go to if you could pay something at one time, yeah, this will help you out a lot. Yeah.
Bavin Olver, The Evening News.
The Forestry Division is reminding persons that they are not to hunt for mammals and reptiles because it's the close season and anyone caught with prohibited mammals or reptiles could face a hefty fine. According to a release from the Ministry's Communication Division, Forestry Services personnel and the police confiscated some wild meat in the Upper Cane Hall Boom Boom area, which was initially advertised for sale on Monday, April 16, 2018. A young man was reprimanded and a weapon used in the catch was confiscated. The release further states that it is illegal for persons to be hunting in the close season, and any member or a party engaged in hunting protected wildlife, harvesting or disturbing the eggs or young of any protected wildlife can be fined up to $2,000. In the case of a second or subsequent offense, the perpetrator can face a fine of 4,000 EC dollars and imprisonment for 1 year under the Wildlife Protection Act. Since its establishment in 1978, the Yulupan movement has stood as the governing body of steel pan here in SVG. As they celebrate their 40th anniversary, a week of activities is currently ongoing to commemorate the milestone. And last evening at French's house, the public joined the Yulupan movement for an open forum on the future of pan. In this report from Nikita Tony, we heard that the Yulupan movement is taking steps to ensure that the steel pan and its organization remain relevant.
That the Yulupan movement, YPM, was intended to be an umbrella body for steel orchestras here in SVG. Featured speaker at last Thursday's open forum, Rene Batiste, noted that the organization should also act as a chief advocate for the art form.
Was supposed to be dedicated to popularizing the art form. At times it was its own enemy. Now with the advent of different social media platforms, there is, in my view, still the need to popularize the art form. It may well be that the movement does not have the human resource to pursue a particular goal or goals, but it is careful and scientific study which is required to be undertaken to define how do we meet these present day and future needs and continue the functioning of the Yulupan movement.
With the YPM celebrating 40 years of existence this year, Batiste said that at this stage, the YPM should be seeking to renew itself.
Prime importance ought to be the nature of the dynamics of the functioning of the organization in a general sense. Does it function and provide for flexibility The persons who are called to answer the most, do they do so truthfully? And is the membership being fair to management and operations? The survival of the movement will depend on the style of delivery of the objects, aims, and objectives of the organization.
She emphasized that the PAN organization should work towards ensuring that they decentralize rather than focus primarily on carnival.
But the hearing of PAN in the rural carnivals should be engaging. There are other festivals on the cultural calendar. PAN needs to find its way to be involved in those festivals. At Gospel Fest, the PAN movement can be the resource manager and should assist in sourcing tuners, arrangers, conductors. Yes, I know there is no money, but you have no idea how many times as minister I was told there was no money.
Baptiste, who is affectionately called Mama Culture, further outlined that the YPM and its members can only make a greater impact if they stand as one body.
To be our strongest advocates and cover down, boil down, being our biggest critics. Insisting on, as an organization, as steel orchestras, as members of this unique and different instrument, not known in some parts of the world, created in our own Caribbean, the only one in the 20th century. Unity is strength. Let it not be just a word, but an action.
The YPM 40th anniversary week of activities culminated on Sunday, April 22nd, with a steel pan blocko at the Calico Hard Court. Nikita Tony reporting for SVG-TV News.